Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message. I present to you the Lesbian Detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. I know you guys are like, what happened last week? Why we did not get a new episode? And let me explain. We had a lot going on. We had so much. I did not know that we had so many kids graduating this year. I'm like, bruh, where these kids come from? We got a graduation this Sunday. We ain't even done with graduation. We have one Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, are we done yet? And then her sister called like, oh, a cousin graduated. I'm like, dang, another party?
Yeah.
These kids, okay, like, give us a break. It's like a graduation after another graduation after another graduation after another graduation. Guys, we're trying this. We finally sitting down and recording today.
Mixed in with birthday parties, trying out new restaurants, all kinds of things.
It's been rough, but we're back and we're going to give you guys an episode this week. We're sorry. Hopefully we'll never, ever, ever have to miss a week. But life be life and sometimes. And then also, round of applause. My wife is about to start doing Reddit stories. She loves Reddit, guys. I mean, she sent me so many Reddit videos a day. I'm like, okay, girl, just do like a TikTok. She's like, I will.
Yes.
And she pushed me to be on her TikTok page too to do the Reddits. And I'm like, okay. I give my little 2 cents. It's called Little Bit Reddits.
Little Bits Reddit stories.
We have to tell y'all one day how she got the name Little Bits. It's so funny. But today, right here, we are talking about a new case. We actually watched the Netflix episode on this a long time ago. And then I was just going through like Netflix looking for another like a show to watch. And I'm like, oh, I watched this show? Let me watch it. And I heard the case. I'm like, oh, we have to talk about it on the podcast. My wife would not remember, guys. She has the worst memory.
I do.
Like, she probably remember like 3 days from now. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember the episode. I'm like, yeah, trust me. Now, let's get into the episode. A beloved small-town hairdresser vanished in the middle of an ordinary spring day, leaving behind a trail of unsettling silence and unanswered questions. She was last seen inside her salon, speaking on the phone in a calm, friendly voice. Within just 13 minutes, she disappeared. No sign of struggle, no witnesses, no scream. Her lunch was left untouched. The register had some money missing. Her car seat was adjusted, as if someone had driven it. It was as if she had been plucked out of her life by an invisible hand. At home, the man she lived with responded to the disappearance with eerie calm. He did not search. He did not cry. He locked the door and shut out her teenage son, whom was now left motherless and alone. In the days and weeks that followed, his behavior grew more disturbing. He kept her ashes in his home and carried her skull with him, saying it made him feel close to her. He forbade her son from seeing any parts of her memory. For nearly 2 decades, the mystery remained. The woman's remains were discovered in the woods behind a church nearly 600 days after she vanished, but no one was ever arrested. The man who claimed to love her died years later, taking secrets with him to the grave. Only after his death were the remains finally returned to her son, who had waited nearly 2 decades to say goodbye. Though suspects were questioned and leads follow, the case has never been solved. It remained a haunting story of a love twisted by control, a vanishing woman, and a son left searching for the truth. This is the case of Patrice Endres. Before she became a face on a missing person poster, before her name was whispered in a true crime forums and layers into chilling documentaries, Patrice Endres was simply a woman from Georgia, warm, driven, and beloved by those who truly knew her. Patrice was born on November 28, 1965, and raised in Georgia, where she grew up surrounded by rolling pine woods and red clay roads. In the small town closeness that became the comfort. She was the kind of girl who smiled easily, loved animals. As a young woman, she developed a passion for beauty and hairstyling, not for the glamour, but for the connection. She saw her work not just as a job, but to lift people up. Helping someone feel good about themselves gave her joy. She would later say that doing someone's hair was like therapy. People told her about their troubles, their stories, and their secrets. And Patrice listened to it. She always listened. In her early 20s, Patrice had a son, Pistol, who became the light of her life. The bond between them was fierce, unshakable. She raised him largely on her own in his early years and worked tirelessly to build a life that would give him love, safety, and sense of belonging. In the mid-1990s, she met a man named Rob Endres, a technician for a concert production company. He was older, about 20 years her senior, and at first seemed like a stable, loving partner. They married in 1997. Friends describe their early years as affectionate, but over time, subtle shifts in Rob's behavior began to show. He became controlling, possessive, and overbearing. There were whispers from friends and clients that Patrice was no longer happy. She had confided in some that she was thinking about leaving Rob. She wanted more freedom, more time with her son, more light. He would call the salon multiple times a day, asking who was there, what was she doing, and how long she'll be. He reportedly disliked her having male clients and would sometimes just show up at the salon unannounced. He tried to monitor her interactions, even her tone of voice when speaking to others. Pistol later described their relationship as very toxic, recalling that Rob didn't want Patrice to be independent or too social. Patrice had worked hard to build her own salon, a place that was hers, built with her hands and heart. But Rob's watchful eye cast a shadow over it. By early 2004, just months before she disappeared, Patrice had allegedly begun quietly gathering financial information and planning for a possible divorce. Close friends said she was scared, not necessarily of violence, but losing control over her life, her business, and most of all, her son. She wanted to be free. She wanted a future that wasn't micromanaged. According to some reports, she feared Rob would try to cut her off financially or take legal action against her if she left. In the weeks before she vanished, Patrice confided in a friend that she was counting every penny and trying to get her finances in order. The time is chilling in hindsight. She disappeared just as she was preparing to access her independence. April the 15th, 2004 began like any other Thursday in the small town of Cumming, Georgia. The skies overcast but calm. The sleepy hum of life crawling along Route 369. It was spring in the south. Dogwoods blooming, birds singing, and somewhere evil quietly waiting. For Patrice, 38, it was a routine morning shaped by love, responsibility, and a quiet strength. That morning, she was up before dawn in her two-story home in Cumming, Georgia, moving through the rhythm of her life, brewing coffee, feeding the cats, and packing a light lunch. She kissed her son Pistol on the forehead before she headed out the door. He was 15, growing into himself. She dropped him off at his high school around 8 a.m., the same way she did nearly every weekday. They didn't know it was the last time they would see each other. Patrice drove her blue Ford Expedition to her small business, just off Highway 369. The salon sat beside a car dealership in a few quiet business. Not a particular busy area, but not remote either. The sign out front was neat, and the inside smelled familiar of hairspray and coconut lotion. It was her pride, her sanctuary. She had designed every detail: the white walls, the nearly light tan bedding, the frame of photos of clients smiling. Most of them were more than customers. They were friends. The first client came and went without any incident. Patrice, cheerful as always, worked effectively, chatting as she snipped and styled. She had lunch plans later that day with a friend and was in good spirits. Around 11:05 a.m., she made a brief call to that friend, confirming they would meet around noon. Her tone was relaxed. She had a few clients left on her schedule. At 11:10 a.m., Patrice took another call from a customer. She scheduled an appointment for later in that week, noted it in her calendar. Again, her demeanor was calm, no sign of distress. Then, at 11:35 a.m., Patrice answered her final known call. It was a short exchange ending at 11:37 a.m. Her voice was steady, pleasant. No noise in the background, no indication of a threat, just normalcy. And then silence. When the next client arrived at 11:50 a.m., the salon was strangely still. The client hesitated outside the glass door, peering in. Patrice was nowhere to be seen. The lights were on. A hairdryer was humming, abandoned. Patrice's purse was still behind the counter, her keys untouched. Her lunch, brought from home, still wrapped, was sitting on the break room counter. Something was wrong. The cash register was open, but not completely empty. Around $100 or so was missing, enough to suggest a hurry robbery, but not a professional one. Her Ford Explorer had been moved slightly from its usual parking space. The seat had been pushed far back, as if someone much taller than Patrice had been inside. There was no sign of struggle, no broken glass, no blood. Just the absence of a woman's entire life had been rooted in this routine. Police were later described it as a ghost crime. No witnesses, no video footage, no screaming, no neighbors saw anything. Patrice had vanished in 13 minutes windows between 11:37 a.m. and 11:50 a.m. in broad daylight in a traffic area. Clients who had called during the period got no answer. One call went straight to voicemail, a rarity for Patrice, who kept her phone nearby. The 911 call replaced shortly after noon. By the time law enforcement arrived, the scene had already been mildly contaminated. People had wandered in and touched things. Looked around. Still, investigators began combing through the timeline. From the beginning, the investigators knew there was no ordinary missing person case. This was precise, fast, clean, almost too clean. One theory was someone Patrice knew had entered the salon, someone she trusted to let inside without alarm. One theory pointed towards a bizarre style attack, someone who waited, watched, and struck at the perfect moment when she was alone. But if that was the case, where was the evidence? Why no noise? No struggle? No one driving by who noticed anything? FBI analysts were brought in. The missing wedding ring added eerie layers to the mystery. Had the killer taken it as a trophy, or was it a simple loss? From the outset, Rob's demeanor was unwavering. When police arrived at the household that afternoon, they found a man calm, composed, almost too collected for the gravity of the situation. There was no visible panic, no frantic pacing, no calls to neighbors or family asking for help. Instead, Rob moved quickly, but strangely, almost as if he was trying to erase Patrice's existence. Within 24 hours of Patrice's disappearance, Rob changed the locks on the family home. Pistol, still reeling from his mother vanishing, suddenly found himself locked out on the only place he has ever known as home. Rob had told him it was for security reason, but the message was clear. Pistol was no longer welcome. For the teenage boy whose world had just collapsed, Rob's treatment was devastating. Pistol was not just losing his mother, he was losing his home and his stepfather's protection. Friends who spoke to Pistol later described him as isolated and angry he had become. He tried desperately to get answers, but Rob was distant, cold, and uncommunicative. When Pistol pleaded to find out what happened, Rob offered a vague, sometimes explanation. He refused to comfort his stepson. He refused to acknowledge the deep pain that was consuming the boy. Instead, Rob seemed to retreat behind a wall of silence.
Witnesses close to the family said Rob barely mentioned Patrice's name in those early days. He did not attend community vigils or participate in search parties. Instead, he stayed home, rarely answering phone calls or visitors. At times, neighbors noted that he appeared withdrawn, but others found him oddly nonchalant. He never expressed public anguish. To some, he seemed detached, as if Patrice's disappearance was a mere inconvenience rather than a tragedy. Rob's behavior suggested something more troubling than grief. The same controlling tendencies his friends had whispered about during their marriage seemed to intensify after Patrice vanished. Rob refused to allow Pistol to access Patrice's belongings. Personal items, letters, and photographs were locked away. Pistol was told he could not visit her salon anymore. When he attempted to talk about his mother, Rob shut him down. Some family members later said Rob even interfered with Pistol's therapy sessions, worried that the boy might say things that could incriminate him. The household atmosphere became cold and guarded, a place where love and loss were replaced by suspicion and silence. When the police finally interviewed Rob at the station, he was oddly composed. He mentioned she kept a getaway fund in the salon, a stash of money she was saving, presumably to leave him. That money was gone too. Was it a robbery? Or was that detail part of a bigger cover story? And yet Rob had an alibi. He claimed he had been in Atlanta working a job that morning. It was never completely verified, but never disproven either. The lack of physical evidence meant that no one could be conclusively ruled in or out. December the 6th, 2005, over 600 days later, the nightmare worsened. In a heavily wooded area behind Lebanon Baptist Church in Dawson County, just 6 miles from the salon, Patrice's skeletal remains were found. Scattered, deteriorated. Her wedding ring was gone. So were her other personal items. The condition of her remains led investigators to believe her body had been moved. There were no clear signs of trauma, no cause of death that could be confidentially stated. It was chilling silence. Once again, evidence slipped through their fingers. After Patrice was officially declared dead, her remains, skeletal and incomplete, were returned to Rob Endres. Instead of arranging a private, dignified burial for his wife in the usual way, Rob did something unusual, something that felt less like grieving and more like possession. He kept Patricia's ashes locked away in a small wooden box inside his home. But more unsettling, he admitted to carrying her skull around with him for a time. When asked why, Rob explained coldly, "It was like she was still with me." To outsiders, that statement was eerie. To many, it felt like an act of control, a twisted way to keep Patrice close, even in death, but on his own terms. The idea of carrying a loved one's skull is not just macabre, it is symbolic of holding on to something that should have been let go. Rob's behavior raised a disturbing question. Was this a man mourning or a man claiming ownership? His morbid fascination with the physical remains suggested a complex, toxic attachment. It was less about love many felt and more about domination. Friends and family who later spoke about Rob's chilling behavior recalled how he would sometimes talk about the ashes as if they were a talisman. He kept them close like a secret weapon, something no one else could have. For Patrice's son, reality was even darker. Pistol was forbidden from seeing or touching his mother's ashes. Rob guarded them Rob guarded them jealously. The boy, who had lost his mother too soon, was denied the simple comfort of saying goodbye. The ashes became a symbol of the fractured family, the mother lost, the father strange and distant, and the son, caught between, denied not just his mother's presence, but even her remains. When the Netflix revived Unsolved Mysteries in 2020, one episode focused entirely on Patricia's case. It was titled 13 Minutes, referencing that a critical gap between her phone call and the arrival of her next client. The documentary pulled no punches. Rob was interviewed extensively, and his detached demeanor became one of the most talked about aspects of the episode. Director Clay Jeter later said Rob's behavior disturbed him, particularly how quickly he changed the locks and his strange obsession with Patrice's remains. Yet, despite the national attention, tips and theories, including possible links to known serial killers like Jeremy Jones and Gary Mitchell Hilton, no charges were ever filed. Nothing stuck. The mystery persisted. On October the 8th, 2023, Rob Endres died at the age of 77. For Pistol, the news was a strange kind of closure. He had long believed that Rob knew more than he ever admitted. After Rob's death, Patricia's ashes, which he had kept locked away for nearly 2 decades, were finally returned to her son. He laid his mother to rest the way she deserved. To this day, Patricia's murder remains officially unsolved. The case sits like a heavy cloud overcoming a town where everyone remembers the warm woman with a gentle voice who vanished without a scream. Her son continues to fight for justice, but with the weight of adulthood and the strength of unwavering love. And those who knew her remember her, not for how she died, but how she lived, with kindness, dignity, and quiet courage. Before we end this case, let's remember the woman that lost her life. Patrice Endres was more than just a name on a missing persons list. She was a devoted mother, a gifted hairstylist, and a woman trying to reclaim her independence and joy. Patrice Endres was the kind of woman people didn't forget, not because she vanished in broad daylight from her salon in rural Georgia, but because she radiated warmth. She made people feel at ease. Clients came to her for a haircut, but left feeling better about themselves. She was a friend to many, a safe space in a small town, and above all, a devoted mother to her teenage son, Pistol Black. She had dreams, laughter, compassion, and strength that sometimes went unnoticed. She was trying to build something more than just a life. She was trying to build freedom, peace, and a future. But on April the 15th, 2004, that future was stolen. It was a Thursday morning like any other. Patrice opened her salon, Tammy's Haircut Junction, in Cummings, Georgia. She saw her regulars, laughed, cut hair, played Christian music softly in the background. At 11:35 a.m., she took a call from a friend. Suddenly, the line went dead. At 11:50 a.m., just 13 minutes later, Patrice was gone. Her lunch was still out, her car still parked, her purse untouched. The register was open and emptied. The back door was ajar. There were no signs of a struggle, no screams, no witnesses. It was as though she had been lifted out of her own life, erased without noise. Patrice wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't famous, but she was extraordinary in the ways that mattered most. She worked hard. She raised her son alone for years. She built her salon from scratch, a place where women trusted her with their secrets as much as their hair. Her relationship with her only child, Pistol, was sacred. The bond between them was tight, loving, unbreakable. She was his anchor and he was her world. But behind the warmth, there was a shadow. Patrice was married to a man named Rob Endres, more than 20 years older than her. To outsiders, the marriage seemed strained. Friends said he was controlling, possessive, and jealous. Patrice had started making plans to leave him, a quiet escape, one she never had a chance to complete. For nearly 2 years, there were no answers. The investigation produced few leads, a few tips, a few theories. Police looked at serial killers, strangers, and those closest to her, including Rob, whose behavior raised eyebrows, but whose alibi held. Still, the mystery remained tight. Then, in December 2005, bones were found in the woods behind a church in nearby Dawson County. Partial remains scattered by time and animals. The dental records confirmed what the heart already knew. Patrice was gone. There was no clear cause of death, no clothing, no weapon, no answers. Pistol Black was just a teenager when he lost his mother. He not only lost her, but also lost the only family he had. Rob, who had once been a stepfather figure, cut him out completely. He kept her ashes, denied Pistol any of her belongings, refused to let him say goodbye. Patricia's death became a wound that never healed because it never got justice. Her son became her voice, but the silence surrounding her case remained louder than the truth. She was the woman who made you feel like the most important person in the room. She was the mother who put her child first every day of his life. She was the friend who showed up, the business owner who built something from nothing, the woman who was trying to reclaim herself, quietly, bravely, before someone took that chance away from her. She had plans, she had value, she had love, and she deserved so much more than to become a mystery. To this day, no one has been arrested for Patricia's abduction or death. The case remains open. Investigators still ask for tips. Her family still waits for justice. The tragedy of Patricia's story isn't just that she died, it's that the world let her fade without answers. But her son never stopped speaking her name, and now neither do we. Patrice Endres mattered. She still does. This is the case of Patrice Endres. Now let's get into some theories.
Theory.
Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a cowboy, could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Researching through your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives.
You or me?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's not hard to figure out who we all know it is. It's Rob.
Rob.
I do think he probably hired somebody to unalive her. I really do, because he made sure he had an alibi. And there's one thing that was in the case that like always stood out for me. it was like her telling her friends, like, yeah, I'm putting money aside. I'm having me like a emergency fund, so when I leave, I have money. But then when you remember, he knew about it. Like, how did you know? But like, he was really like watching her, because he said something to the police that you think about. He said, oh yeah, she had like her her emergency fund at the salon and stuff like that. Oh, but it's gone now. That stood out to me because you knew she was about to leave you. You knew all this was happening. He did not want that control to go. He was so controlling. And that's so sad that like she was about to get away. She had her freedom. She's like, I'm about to get away from this man. Me and my son about to have a better life. And then he took it away from her.
That was the motive, though. So he found out that she was gonna leave him,
Mm-hmm.
that she had money. She was very close, but he had to have the last say. He had to control the situation or manipulate it to his desire.
Even in her death, like holding her ashes and not giving her son some, that's effed up in so many ways.
And so is the skull. Who keeps the skull and gets the ashes of everything else?
I don't know. When I heard that part, I was like, creepy.
Yeah.
Like, I wish she was like hunting his ass, like, and then like he had the ashes. I'm like, girl, get him. Like in my head, I'm like, get him. Make them last couple years that he was living. Get him, girl. You know, like hunt him, do all that evil stuff. I don't know. Like, I'm just like, get him back, because for over 2 decades, her son did not have nothing of his mother. And they was close. When I watched the Netflix, guys, it's amazing. You should watch it. He said something. He said that like every morning when he wake up, like he knew his mom was woke because she was running the treadmill. And he just felt like boom, boom, boom. He's like, dang, okay, time to get up. He said like he hated that morning. Him and his mom got like into a little argument because he wanted to go to school super early because he had a little girlfriend and he wanted to see his girlfriend. But he said his mom said like, I love you. He said, I love you too. Like, bye. And he said like, dang, like I wish we didn't, I wish I had more moments with her.
Right.
I just hate it was like 13 minutes. This person worked fast. And people like, how did this person get her after without screaming? If he had a gun, she probably wasn't going to scream.
Right.
She probably was going like, okay, like take what you want, like get out, like, like get out of here. But he wanted her. That was the thing. I feel like we never going to know the real story because the person who did it is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sucky part about it. Because I know he would never do this, but like, write a letter or something like what happened to her. But we know like how controlling he was. He was not going to do it. I mean, he changed the locks in 24 hours for the son. The son couldn't even get back in his home.
Right.
And he was 15 years old. He was locked out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, dang, do you really love me?
Mm-hmm.
He probably didn't. He probably...
I mean, it's probably for his own good too, because what if he became the next target? So even though it's rough that he locked them out, he probably did him a favor.
I agree. It's just sad that I just hate hearing stories like this when a woman's getting out of an abusive relationship and they almost there. They got everything that they need and they about to leave and this person unalive them. That's the hardest part of stories like this because it's like they were so close.
And that's why you have to be able to recognize the red flags. And a lot of people will tell you actions speak louder than words. And I understand you want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, but you start falling into this cycle and then before you know it, it's too late and it's really hard to get out. And that's if you get out.
Mm-hmm. Because he had the money, he had the power, and he made sure she knew it. And it's somebody with that much money and power, it's not hard to hire somebody like, hey, I need you to go kill my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who did it, you suck. Like, sucky ass.
And the fact that he did have all this money and power, he was used to getting his way. So when he knew that something was going to go against his beliefs or his desire, of course it upset him. And he had to take the control back.
I'm glad the son was able to get the ashes because knowing somebody like him, he probably like thought them, made sure the son would never got his mom's stuff. Mm-hmm. I know it took so long for him to get it, but I'm glad he did get it. You know, it just sucked that he couldn't get none of his mom's stuff, like nothing. Like he just had to
wait.
he know the son didn't know like how long this man gonna take to die. Like he's like, dang, when can I do something?
Her son gave her the appropriate ceremony that she deserved to basically give her peace.
I thought the police. I know like he was like next in line, the husband, to get her stuff. I just hate that the police gave it to him. Like he was a suspect. He shouldn't been able to get her. You know.
Yeah.
He didn't treat her right in life, and then he didn't treat her right in death.
Yeah.
That's just man. Who may he burn in mind?
Wow.
Not gonna say that, guys. But we all know I was finna say. Well, this is the case, and I hope one day that the person who did unalive her get sent to jail. You suck too. All y'all suck.
Robin, his accomplice.
I just hope that his accomplice get what he deserved. I'm not wishing harm on him, but you took somebody's life, so you shouldn't have the best life ever.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is our case, and I'm glad to be back, and I promise you guys we will try to give you a new episode every Friday. Please like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification button to get notified when our new episode drop. Please give us 5 stars rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also comment, guys. Tell me your theories. I want to hear what you have to say about this episode. This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are signing out. And don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye.
Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now. Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.